Most likely can get there. I say that. Should get there. Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be playing the infamous Urabrask deck that was floating around on Twitter, got a lot of traction. It's a best of 3 build, but we are going to be trying this wacky combo in best of 1 and see how it goes. And I won't lie, it went kind of well, better than I thought it was going to at the very least. Every time I look at this deck in terms of how it's like sorted, it doesn't look the best. This is technically down here because realistically we have a 1 mana spell, a lot of 2 mana spells, 3 mana, 4 mana, and then randomly 5 mana spells. But virtues can kind of act as both, obviously. But what is the combo in this deck? What are we talking about? On turn 2, we want to play Artist Talent. I called it Artesian's Talent like the entire video. I'm sorry, it's Artist Talent. I don't know why I was doing that, but that is what I was doing. But whenever you cast a spell, a non-creature one specifically, you may discard a card and draw a card. That is useful whenever we are trying to combo and we rip into too many lands or too many spells like Brotherhood in that require 2 red mana, because as you'll see in a second, we really just want 1 mana spells, and those are all these 2 drops because they'll be reduced by activating the second mode of this. We want to make our non-creature spells cost 1 less, turning all of our 2 mana spells like this and down into 1 mana spells that replace the bad cards. Other than that, we can do the bottom mode, which gives us 2 extra damage on everything. Not super relevant, as more often than not we can still get there without it. But with that said, let's talk about the other piece being Urabrask. I might call this Urabrask Forge in the video at some time as well. I was doing it in the intro and I had to cut the intro because I kept calling this Urabrask Forge for some reason. But whenever we cast an instant or a sorcery spell, Urabrask deals 1 damage to target opponent. We add a red. That adding a red is super important. So the idea is to play the talent and upgrade it on 3 if we don't have to remove anything. Oftentimes we might have to Brotherhood in. On turn 4, we want to play Urabrask and hope it sticks. If it stays around for that turn cycle, we can then look to upgrade this, then making all of our spells 1 mana, and we can combo win with that on that turn. So how do we do that? Every spell that does burn damage is that amount of burn plus 1 whenever you're counting with an Urabrask Forge. Or, see, I just did it again. When you're counting with an Urabrask, because what happens is, for example, Shock is 2 damage. Urabrask does 1 and then replaces it. So we spend 1 mana to cast Shock, we discard a bad card, and then Urabrask will replace that mana with 1 red and then give us 1 extra damage. So now these become lightning strikes. Lightning strikes become 4 damage and are still 1 mana. And then cards like Playful Shove does 1 damage and then 2 damage, but then it's also a draw card. The Virtue of Courage now just also becomes lightning strikes. So the least amount, if we do 3 spells, as I'll talk about Urabrask's flip ability here, is if we shock them, because it's technically like a shock or like a Playful Shove, but realistically we'll probably be shocking and doing 1 lightning strike or something. If we do 3 shocks, that will be 9 damage because the extra damage from Urabrask. And then Urabrask has this bottom ability for 1 red because it'll be replaced by casting the spell. So we'll always have that red to do this. Exile Urabrask, then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate as a sorcery and only if we cast 3 or more instants and sorcery spells this turn. And as you'll notice, it deals 3 damage to target opponent and each creature they control. So that's an additional 3 for a total of 12 off of just probably the lowest amount of damage that we can do in terms of spells. Outside of that, we're obviously going to combo off and do a lot of other shenanigans. We, at one point, get a Virtue of Courage online, and then we have like 20 cards in exile, and we're going all in on that. So we do get a lot of crazy combo turns, and by the end of it, you could tell I was combo brained out. I was messing up Urabrask a little bit too much. But with that said, there is a sideboard. It'll be in the link in the description as well as the main board here. And with that said, let's go ahead and go combo some people. If you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing. I truly appreciate it. Let's head out there in game. All right. Well, we go first. If we're against any aggro matchup, we kind of got a really good hand for it. If not, we have the talent to shuffle everything away. And I think, I mean, this looks about as good of a hand we're going to get. Especially because, like, we don't even really want Urabrask super early. The Urabrask is obviously good, but it is also 4 mana. Okay. I lied. I want Urabrask right now. I want him in play now. How does he exactly flip? Whenever you cast an sorcery, Urabrask deals 1 damage. You add a red. Exile it and return it to battlefield. Transform. Activate only as a sorcery if you cast 3 more instants. Okay. Well, depending on what they're doing, and they could get lost me, but I'm going to level this up. They can blow up my enchantment right away, but realistically, against this deck, they're going to look to set up something. Folder's talent, we don't really care. We're strictly like a burn deck here. I probably should have fired off the Wrenn's Resolve first, huh? I don't know if they'll have it, but firing this off, and I'm going to set up a Wrenn's Resolve. And for this, do I send the Brotherhood in back? I think the answer is yeah. All right, demand answers. We're ready. Kind of. Wrenn's Resolve is until our next turn, and we can cast both spells, aka Storm and Modern, if you know that deck. But realistically, as long as Artesian Talent stays and we hit a land here so we can play the Urabrask Forge, they might die. All right. Urabrask. We're doing it, team. Cast this, replace the red. We don't really have a card in our hand that we want to replace. So we're going to do this. There's another land there. Sacrifice an artifact or draw a card. It could be. I'm not saying they are 100% dead here, but this isn't pumped up, but I can set up pretty well here. All right, sweet. So now we shock. Urabrask replaces. This goes away. Draw another land. Sure. Fire off Lightning Strike. Urabrask pings. Discard, discard. And with that said, we get there. Very cool. Well, game 1 in the books. We did the thing. I thought we were going to miss there for a second, but with that said, game 1 down. That's a dub. All right, going first here. Our hand looks entirely different in comparison to the first one where we only had mountains show up. We have 2 different type of lands here, but we obviously start off the cave. Little land here. Does have a discovery activation if need be. We'll play land here. Everything can kind of go upstairs. We could fire off a Wrenn's Resolve, but it looks like we're against control, which is like a weird matchup in general because we do get a lot of like, we have a lot of burn. So realistically, we can just burn them out and make our burn spells like lethal enough. Wrenn's Resolve. Maybe they'll counter this. Yeah, that makes sense. Really could have just opted to keep burning them out, but who knows. Land. Go. We could try to thin here and blow up one of their lands. We are on instep, so it is a little weird. Fire this off. Will this work? Yeah, they gotta be prepared to stop like things like Wrenn's Resolve and stuff like that. So down to 11. Yes. All the burn, team. All the burn. We're just gonna go to their instep every turn and just be like, hey, are you ready or how we feeling? They missed a land, so I'm gonna take this chance to demo one of these, I guess. Flash in Tidebinder. Counter my demo field. That'd be sick. Be really funny, but we're down to trim a little. They're already at 11. We're just looking to burn this game out entirely. And they missed a land, so like ripping one out of their deck technically makes the chances lighter. Shock. 9 and 9. I'm gonna slam it. We'll force a counterspell out of him. Or get lost, I guess. It's also possible. Hey, it doesn't have to hit him for much. Not have to hit him for much. Get in there, big dog. Yeah. Very nice, very nice. Now they could have something like a sunfall or whatnot. They hit a land. I guess I just pass. I'm gonna hold this because this isn't a red source, so it's not like I really want to have it. It passed. I don't know what's happening quite yet. We're definitely going for a demo field here on this. They can float a mana. The only thing I can think that they would do is flash in the 6/6. And because we're technically still on their turn, it'll come in untapped. Which is like fine, I guess. They are at 8 though. Fire this off. I've just hit them with burn spells after burn spells. All right. Combat. Attack. Hey, let the one come through. Dangerous. Dangerous they are. Fire this off. Again, our 1/1's not a red source, so playing this before doesn't actually matter too much. Not a big deal. Now, if our 1/1 was red, we'd definitely opt to try to do that. I think it's actually non-combat damage, right? So it didn't even matter. Would deal damage amount of non-combat damage. Sure. They're tapped out now. Deal non-combat damage to an opponent. You may exile that many cards from the top of your library. You may play those cards this turn. Let's do this. Oh, they're tapped out, so I can do it when I need to. Sure. Hey. I have lethal. Hey, just another burn spell. Come on. Off the top, please. This is such a stupid game. Gross, for sure. This one. I have 3 mana for the No More Lies. Now, like, any burn spell ever is lethal. And because I want to be mana efficient, destroy all artifacts here. If they counter this to keep it 2/2, then sure. But it is kind of wild that just now a shock of any kind is lethal. I don't even know what this is. Until end of the next turn, whenever you cast spell, deals 2 damage up to 1 target creature. Create trapped treasures. Exile top 2 cards until end of turn. May play them. They obviously, I think, have counterspell, so I'm going to go for this and force them to use it. Yeah. I figured it was a No More Lives regardless, too. Because of the way they kind of looked at that last turn. Force them to have it. I could have waited, but again, I'm going to force them to counter every single spell if I can. This is a wheel of the top 4, so if it does happen to resolve, like, it is what it is. But here we are. Yeah. And now we do this on their turn, by the way, or if they ever tap out. Best time as any. They don't have double blue open. Boom. Very cool. If we just... We're winning, and I'm not happy about it. Go first. Cool. Cool hand here. Very sick. Play Mountain. We'll pass. Kind of have to have the shock available. Oh, is it just Boros? I'm going to save the shock to go with the talent here. Because the shock will be able to potentially draw me extra cards now. Especially if I have Flood a Little or something. Something like the opposite, you know. But here we get to pump this and maybe get hit with a get lost. No, okay. against Boros twice now. They haven't had get lost for the talent unless they just ripped it. Okay. Here. I wasn't really ready for that, but yeah. So we're going to go for Virtue and Demand Answers and try to hit that 5th land to play this, and then they can't temporary lockdown it. Oh no, not Archangel Elspeth. It does make life linkers, and that is kind of annoying.
I have been reborn.
Here. Do this, and then probably get rid of, like, this, I suppose. Land off top? No. Miss a land. A little tough. And this pluses again, then it gets like kind of out of range. I don't know what the answer is. So I Brotherhood in the board and like I guess I just remove everything. I think I'm making it too complicated. They played an entire temporary lockdown to answer 1 talent, so if I can get the mana, I can like play next turn and then pump it, and then maybe we can play this Virtue, or just play the Virtue and then force them to answer it. Sure. Talent good. Obviously, it's a little weird. All right. Spell number 1. It immediately resolved. Do I go with Demand Answers then? I think so. Obviously, having a second one's nice in case they lock down me again, which we can always make our decision post kind of decision here on by our opponent. 6 mana. Flanker, sure. Interesting spot to do flanker. It must have been their draw. Most of the time, if you flanker, you're going to want to do it like on your upkeep. You can ensure that it hits. Now, their top card could be a removal spell or an answer, but do I want to get rid of shock? I'm not entirely sure. I don't think so. I mean, shock's a spell, right? So, no. We're just looking to hit lands at this point. Or a land at this point, I guess. We finally do. Okay. Now, I could do this. Or I can slam this. I'm going for the big Virtue here. Decline here. We'll have second Virtue so we can cast the second one if needed. I keep getting paused, so they have a answer to something. I don't know what that answer is. Or maybe they have like a Helix, I guess. Helix would be a weird card that they would have. Alright, well, they kept on top and kept on top. I would assume the Mirrex was one of the top pieces. And now they're going all in. They're trying to win. They know they're in danger, I believe. I think it's the only thing that kind of makes sense here. Level. Hopefully it gets through. Sweet. Now we'll go for 2 damage on the dome. I'll let the other talent go. I'm not too worried about it now. I'm going to start getting so many cards. The way that this works is I'm going to start getting way more. But we can only play the cards these turns, so it's a little weird. Yeah, we'll definitely exile 2 here. Alright, sweet. We hit a land. Is it... Whenever a source control deals on combat, you may exile that many cards from the top of your library. You may play those cards this turn. Okay. Might as well just pass. It's this turn, so you can't, like, cheese it with the end step trick. And what I mean by that is we can't go to our end step. Sure. You have 9. I have quite a bit myself. It can only Helix me. Sure. I mean, I'll opt to go for the win. I think it's our only out. Again, they could have Helix, so in theory, we have to get to 21 somehow. I don't want to overlook Because if I do 3, that's 3 cards I'm going to draw. So we decline this. So I'd rather only look at 2 cards here instead of 3, because I'm not really going to be able to answer a ton. Is demand answers worth it? And I think the answer is yes, because that's going to put me in. Going to put me in pretty deep here, and we're going to decline this, of course. Shock's good, but we're looking for like Ojer and things like that, so we can play a big creature down and to have these burn spells do a lot more. Or we're looking for like Urabrask to have it replace everything. Take a draw. There's Urabrask. Okay. So again, Helix doesn't answer Urabrask. So we play Urabrask. Start off with the cheap one. Urabrask trigger. I will see them most likely respond here. No bargain. We allow this one to resolve and we respond to the second one. Alright, now we go in. We're gonna have to do this all with the stuff on the stack. We'll go ahead and discard this. Sweet. And yeah, we're taking that action. Oh, well, hopefully we hit. We got 4 more looks. Yep. It's a shock, so it guarantees us another look. Guess that can go as well. I have so many looks. They should be dead here. But, yeah. If they're not, I would be absolutely mind blown, to be honest with you. And it looks like it might happen. Take action, of course. Take the draw. Sure. Exile that many cards. Yes. Alright. Most likely can get there. I say that. Should get there. Discard a card. Actually, I think we're technically there. I'm pretty sure there's another Urabrask trigger on the stack in there somewhere. Yep. So if this doesn't tell you this deck's ridiculous, this one, what in the world? There is 6 active triggers on the stack, and I put 30 cards in the exile. Opponent goes first. Sure. Interesting. Are we against Snake? It's like really weird. I mean, there could be Braids, Rakdos. Oh. What was this deck again? Frustrating for sure. What a crazy draw here. Well, I just have to take it and play the talent, and then go for like a Brotherhood and blowing up both creatures next turn. Sure. Look at you go, dude. You're an Urabrask Forge gamer. A mono red player in disguise, if you would. So 3 damage. We'll get rid of probably the other talent, I guess. We'll get rid of both of those. I'll take 1. I go to 8. Then I take 2 plus whatever other nonsense they play. Sure. Playing a second Urabrask Forge after I played a Brotherhood in seems interesting, like an interesting choice to me. But yeah. We'll play Urabrask. It's like our way to win here. If they remove it, and we lose. But the first strike should be good. We'll see. We've had all the aggression. We didn't quite have the removal in time. If we had land play Shock whenever they did the Charming Scoundrel play, we would significantly be winning this game. Please remove it and kill me, bro. Okay. Didn't quite do it. Maybe. Alright. Still are like on a very short leash. First strike happens. This happens. Sure. With Urabrask. Here we go, team. I'm like stressed out. All right. Need our draws to be good. Upstairs. Urabrask trigger. This is 3 damage. We'll get rid of Urabrask. The fire number 2. We'll go for this. We'll get rid of one of these into the fires. All right. Then the lightning strike upstairs. Just go. Oh man. This is 3 damage here. And I have 7. That's frustrating. You have to like hit a Wrenn resolve or something. Right? So this is 4 and they obviously have a block. We're just dead to these, right? Deals 3 damage to each creature and each opponent. I messed up, dude. The lightning strike would have been lethal. But it's still lethal? Okay. I've been playing this combo deck too much. Get me out of here. I'm done. I'm done playing. Bye-bye. Goodbye. All right. Well, outside of that last game, I think it went kind of well. We did lose a couple of matchups. It was just like the most typical losses outside of one, which I'll get to. We end up losing 3 games, I think. 2 of them were mono red on the play. Sure. It just went like Heartfield, the mouse that gives double strike, the mouse that gives double strike. I killed the first 2. They played the other mouse, and then they pumped it, and then flung it at me, and I died. So, like, I don't feel like anybody really needs to see that. I feel I could be wrong. If you want me to leave those in, I will. I'm saving everybody a minute and a half of a game. You know what I'm saying? But the other one was mono blue. I feel like we can't beat mono blue, and I feel like it's pretty impossible. And the game came down to they put a Hottie Gen in play, and then passed the next turn they had a Hottie Gen, and it was a 1/4 with 5 cards in hand, and they didn't play a land nor cast anything to draw cards. I'm never resolving anything in that matchup. It's just over. It's not a good matchup. So for me, who also just doesn't like playing against mono blue, to be honest, because I think they're not super fun games to be in, I just kind of conceded and moved on. I was like, I'm playing a fun combo deck. I don't want to be sitting here playing against mono blue all day. But with that said, it worked way better than I thought it was going to. As you saw in the other games, outside of those losses, like I just explained, it worked out well. I made a couple of blunders. I made some pretty bad blunders, actually. I think one of them with Ojer, I forgot this only worked towards opponents, and then I'm pretty sure I Playful Shoved a creature that was a 1/2, and it didn't kill it because I thought it was going to deal 4 with Ojer. But if you read its 4,000 words on it, it says non-combat damage less than it power to an opponent. So it only does it to the opponent, not anything. Because why wouldn't it just be anything? I don't know. And then in the final game, I forgot that Urabrask was going to flip, and I also forgot Urabrask did 1 damage, so I thought I lost the game when I had 2 damage, but Urabrask does 1 extra. So that is something, if you do want to play this, I would definitely look out for that and look for the Urabrask flip situations, because it is only 1 red and you can flip a lot of things. And I kind of forgot that throughout the video. There was one turn in a game where I thought it might be relevant to do it, But then I was like, no, I think I just have to keep going and do whatever, and we end up getting there regardless. But being able to flip this is 3 more damage. It is essentially a lightning strike on the back. If you run out of spells, you do your last little burn that you can, and then you flip it. And realistically, anytime you're like, all right, screw it, here we go, is most likely going to be at minimum 3 spells. So if it's, let's say, worst case scenario, it's 3 shocks and Urabrask, or like shock effects, because obviously Virtue's also shock. That is 3 damage each because of Urabrask. So now you're looking at 3, 6, 9. And then the final flip is an additional 3 for 12. So if you do have like more optimal looks with like Lightning Strike, that's 4 damage apiece with Urabrask because of the 1 additional. And my brain wasn't counting that as I was playing. That every shock was a bolt to a player anyway. But every like lightning bolt was 4 damage, you know. So it's very cool, very sick deck. I had a lot of fun playing it. The cards that I would recommend, like if you actually wanted to play this, maybe this is good. Like it was good in the 1 matchup just because blue white had to counter it, but like you could argue this could be other things. The only other thing as well is Playful Shove feels like the worst card by far in the entire deck list. I don't know what there is to necessarily replace it, but 2 mana, 1 damage. I understand it's 1 mana in this deck, and it's like a draw 2 kind of in a way, and replaces itself. But I think it's pretty bad overall, especially if you're playing best of 1. You might want to look more into some of the sideboard stuff and go from there. Whether it's like play a Torch to the Tower, or like a Case is also sick for us. We run out of cards pretty quick, so Case would be a pretty good addition here, because playing like a talent into a Case is super sick, because obviously talent's not positive, it is neutral. But with that said, I mean, there's a lot of options in red to replace it with regardless. So outside of that, I hope you all enjoyed the video. I know it's a little bit shorter, but we did a combo a few times. I started messing it up a little bit at the end, so I was just going to call it there. And with that said, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.